Vancouver's real estate market is on the brink of collapse, but there's one hidden threat that nobody saw coming. Condo owners across the city are now facing a nightmare they never expected: drainage failures. The consequences are nothing short of catastrophic. Thousands of homeowners are seeing their budgets crushed, with repair costs that could total up to $50,000 or more. And that's just the beginning. What was once considered a luxury investment has now turned into a financial burden that many might never recover from. And the worst part? This crisis is only just beginning. As of 2025, Vancouver's condo market, already under immense pressure from sky-high property prices and a shrinking middle class, has been hit by a surge of drainage failures in some of the most sought-after high-rises. CMHC reports that over 1,000 units have been affected so far, with the damage expected to surpass $20 million by the end of this year. But the reality is much worse than that. These failures, which were thought to be isolated incidents, have now revealed a much larger problem. Vancouver's aging condo infrastructure is failing faster than anyone anticipated, and it's creating a ripple effect that could decimate the entire housing market. How did we get here? Vancouver's condo boom, fueled by foreign investments, rising prices, and ambitious development projects, created the illusion of stability. For years, people poured their savings into buying condos, convinced that the value would continue to rise. But behind the glossy facades of these modern towers, a catastrophic failure was brewing. The drainage systems, which were meant to carry away the heavy rainfall that Vancouver is known for, have started to collapse under the pressure. The city's building regulations, which were once considered cutting edge, have now shown themselves to be woefully inadequate in dealing with the realities of climate change and rapid urban development. Homeowners who invested their life savings into these properties are now facing a grim reality. Many are unable to afford the astronomical repair costs, and the damage to their units is so severe that some may never be able to sell. Insurance companies, which were supposed to be their safety net, are refusing to cover the repairs, citing pre-existing conditions and poor maintenance. The cost of repairs is so high that many owners are left with no choice but to go into debt just to fix the damage. For some, it's already too late. They're forced to abandon their condos, walking away from properties they once saw as their retirement investment. But it's not just the homeowners who are suffering. The chaos is spreading throughout the entire Vancouver housing market. Developers, who were once riding high on the wave of new construction, are now scrambling to deal with the fallout. Major construction projects have been delayed, and many are now on the verge of being canceled altogether. The impact on the local economy is severe, with thousands of workers in construction and related industries now facing layoffs. The ripple effect is being felt in the banking sector as well, with banks pulling out of financing deals for condo repairs, leaving homeowners to fend for themselves. Meanwhile, Vancouver's local government, which has been under increasing pressure to address the housing crisis, has been slow to act, unable to provide any meaningful solutions to the problem. As the damage mounts, the financial strain is becoming unbearable for many condo owners. The cost of repairs, which can range anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 or more, is forcing homeowners into bankruptcy. In some cases, entire floors of condos are being evacuated due to the severity of the damage. These aren't just minor leaks, these are full-scale drainage failures that are causing structural damage to the buildings themselves. Floors are flooding, ceilings are caving in, and entire units are being rendered uninhabitable. The worst part? There is no end in sight. These failures are only going to get worse, and with no comprehensive plan in place to address the issue, more and more homeowners will be left holding the bag. The emotional toll on homeowners is impossible to ignore. Many are facing the prospect of losing everything they've worked for. In a city where the average price of a condo has already reached astronomical levels, the sudden collapse of their property's value is devastating. For many, this was supposed to be their future, their chance at homeownership in one of the most expensive cities in Canada. Now, they are watching helplessly as their investments are destroyed by something as simple as faulty drainage systems. The stress of dealing with the financial burden, combined with the uncertainty of the future, is taking a toll on people's mental health. For some, it's too much to bear. There have been reports of homeowners suffering from anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts as they grapple with the fallout from this crisis. But the human cost doesn't stop there. The impact on the wider community is just as profound. Vancouver's real estate market, already struggling due to affordability issues, is facing an even greater crisis. The ripple effect of these drainage failures is spreading to other parts of the market, As more condo owners are forced to abandon their properties, the already oversaturated rental market is becoming even more competitive. Renters, who were already struggling to find affordable housing, are now facing even higher prices as more units are taken off the market. This is exacerbating the housing affordability crisis in Vancouver, making it even harder for middle-class families to find a place to live. At the same time, the city's developers are facing a crisis of their own. The cost of construction materials has skyrocketed in recent years, making it even more difficult to build affordable housing. The high cost of land, combined with the need for expensive repairs to existing properties, is driving many developers out of the market altogether. The result is a massive shortage of new housing, further driving up prices and leaving more people struggling to find a home. Vancouver's dream of becoming a global real estate hub is quickly turning into a nightmare. But this crisis isn't just a local problem, it's a national issue. The ripple effect of Vancouver's housing market crash is being felt across Canada. As the country's most expensive city, Vancouver sets the tone for the rest of the market. The collapse of the condo market could have far-reaching implications for the entire real estate sector. If Vancouver's housing prices continue to fall, it could lead to a broader recession in the Canadian economy, as the construction industry, financial sector, and retail market are all deeply interconnected with the housing market. So, what's next? As the crisis deepens, the future of Vancouver's housing market is uncertain. Will the city's developers be able to repair the damage and rebuild trust in the market? Or will Vancouver's real estate crash become the tipping point for a broader economic collapse? For homeowners, investors, and the city's leaders, the stakes couldn't be higher. The coming months will determine whether Vancouver's housing market can survive this crisis or whether it will spiral into an even deeper collapse. As the drama unfolds, the rest of Canada is watching closely. What happens in Vancouver could have a domino effect across the country. Investors, homeowners, and developers in other cities are now bracing for similar problems. If drainage failures are happening in Vancouver, could they be a ticking time bomb for other cities across Canada? Only time will tell. As Vancouver's housing crisis continues to escalate, the situation is spiraling out of control in ways nobody could have predicted. The damage from the condo drainage failures is no longer confined to just a few unlucky buildings. As the city's infrastructure continues to deteriorate, thousands more residents are at risk of facing similar fates. What's more alarming is that, despite the mounting evidence of widespread failures, there is still no coordinated response from local or provincial authorities. This is not just a housing issue. It's a systemic failure that is revealing the deep cracks in Vancouver's entire housing market. We've seen condo prices skyrocket in the past decade, driven by speculation, foreign investments, and a seemingly insatiable demand for property in one of the most sought-after cities in Canada. But all of that growth was built on shaky foundations, literally. The fact is, Vancouver's rapid expansion in the housing market outpaced the ability of its infrastructure to keep up. As more and more new condos were built with little regard for long-term sustainability, issues like faulty drainage systems went unchecked. Now, the consequences of that neglect are becoming painfully clear, and they're hitting homeowners hardest. The broader implications of this crisis are staggering. For homeowners who invested in their condos with the hope of seeing a return on their investment, the financial impact is devastating. These aren't just minor fixes. These drainage failures are causing significant structural damage, leading to the destruction of walls, ceilings, and even the foundations of some condos. These homeowners, many of whom took on hefty mortgages to secure their properties, are now being left with the terrifying prospect of losing everything. And with no insurance to cover the cost of repairs, they are left with few options but to either take on massive debt or walk away from their homes altogether. What's more troubling is the domino effect this disaster is having on Vancouver's real estate market. For years, Vancouver's housing market has been one of the most expensive in the world. The price of a condo in the city has reached astronomical levels, putting it out of reach for many young Canadians and even seasoned investors. But now, as the drainage failures continue to spread, property values are taking a hit. As more owners are forced to sell their units at a loss or abandon them altogether, the market is flooded with distressed properties. While this may present an opportunity for some buyers, it's a sign of a much deeper problem, a market that is starting to unravel at the seams. The situation is exacerbated by the fact that Vancouver's real estate market is built on a foundation of speculative investments. Foreign money has played a huge role in inflating property prices, and while this influx of cash has propped up the market for years, it has also created an environment of instability. As foreign investors begin to withdraw, Worried about the growing risks associated with Vancouver's crumbling infrastructure, the market faces even more pressure. Developers, once optimistic about the city's potential, are now backing away from new projects, citing rising costs and uncertain returns. The result? A shortage of new housing, further driving up prices and making the city even less affordable for the average Canadian. Meanwhile, the city's government is caught in a political quagmire. Mayor Kennedy Stewart and Premier David Eby have both come under fire for their lack of action in addressing the drainage failures. The provincial government has promised to invest in infrastructure improvements, but many are skeptical about whether these promises will ever materialize. With elections just around the corner, political leaders are scrambling to appear proactive, but their lack of a clear plan to tackle the root causes of the housing crisis is only making things worse. The delay in responding to the drainage failures has left many feeling betrayed, and trust in Vancouver's leadership is at an all-time low. The human cost of this disaster is hard to overstate. The financial toll on homeowners is only one aspect of the crisis. The emotional and psychological toll is equally devastating. Many of the homeowners affected by the drainage failures are dealing with anxiety, depression, and the overwhelming stress of trying to figure out how to fix the damage. For many, their condo was supposed to be a source of security, a place to call their own, a home to raise their families in. Instead, it has become a source of constant worry. It's not just about money anymore. It's about the fear of losing everything they've worked for. This is the reality for thousands of Vancouver residents, and it's a reality that's only going to get worse as the crisis deepens. And yet, the real threat looms larger than anyone realizes. This crisis is not an isolated issue, it's a symptom of a much deeper problem. The failure of Vancouver's drainage systems is just the tip of the iceberg. Vancouver's housing market has been built on a foundation of unsustainable practices, and the drainage failures are merely a wake-up call for what's to come. The city's aging infrastructure is in desperate need of repair, and with costs continuing to rise, the government's inability to keep up with the pace of growth is only going to lead to more failures in the future. Vancouver's housing market, once seen as an untouchable goldmine, is now facing a collapse of its own making. If things continue on this path, the consequences could be catastrophic. As more condos suffer from drainage failures and other infrastructure problems, property values will continue to plummet. Homeowners who are already financially stretched will find themselves underwater, unable to sell their properties or even afford the repairs needed to make them livable again. The ripple effects of this crisis will be felt across the country, with other real estate markets taking a hit as investors and homeowners alike pull out of Vancouver and seek safer investments elsewhere. The risk of a broader economic collapse becomes all too real when you consider the massive role that Vancouver's housing market plays in the Canadian economy. For the average Canadian, the threat is clear. Vancouver's housing market could be a ticking time bomb, and if the problems aren't addressed soon, it could take the entire country down with it. The fact that the government has failed to take meaningful action only adds to the urgency of the situation. Homeowners, investors, and developers are all waiting for a solution that may never come, and in the meantime, the damage continues to mount. The real question now is, what comes next? If Vancouver's housing market collapses, where does that leave the rest of the country? The ripple effect will be felt across Canada, as the fallout from Vancouver's crisis could bring down other major real estate markets. The next few years will be critical for Vancouver and for Canada as a whole. The decisions made today will shape the future of the housing market for generations to come. This is a time of reckoning for Vancouver's housing market. The question is whether the city can recover from this crisis, or whether it will spiral into a deeper collapse. One thing is certain, the stakes have never been higher. If you own property in Vancouver, now is the time to act. The housing market is in turmoil, and the cost of inaction could be devastating. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and subscribe to our channel for the latest updates on Vancouver's housing crisis and what it means for your future. Don't let this crisis catch you off guard. If you want to stay updated on Vancouver's housing market collapse and learn how to protect your investments, leave a comment saying #1 below and subscribe to our channel for more crucial updates. This crisis is far from over, and the more you know, the better prepared you'll be for what's coming next.